The red and blue lights exploded in the rearview mirror, slicing through the calm of the night. He wasn't speeding. He wasn't swerving. He wasn't breaking any law. But the patrol car clung to his bumper like a shadow until the siren screamed. His heart sank, not because he'd done anything wrong, but because he knew exactly how this could end. Stories like his never started with a crime, yet too often ended with a tragedy. He pulled over slowly, hands visible, every movement measured. What happened next would not just define this night, it would change 2 lives forever. And the officer? He had no idea who he had just stopped. Marcus Johnson had lived in this city his entire life. He was respected, meticulous, and quietly powerful, a man who understood the system better than most. As the head of internal affairs, he had spent years investigating misconduct, holding officers accountable, and pushing for reforms most people only dreamed of. But tonight, he wasn't on duty. It was late, past 10 p.m., and Marcus was driving home from a community event. The streets were nearly empty, the hum of the engine the only sound. His tailored suit jacket was folded neatly in the passenger seat, his badge tucked away in his wallet. He was just a man going home, but he knew the rules of survival. He'd seen too many encounters turn deadly. Keep your hands visible. Don't make sudden moves. Comply, even when you've done nothing wrong. It wasn't paranoia. It was lived experience. So when the patrol car appeared in his mirror, following him for 3 long blocks before lighting him up, Marcus felt that familiar knot in his stomach. His mind replayed headlines, body cam footage, and the faces of men who never made it home. This wasn't just another traffic stop, and deep down, he knew it. The officer approached slowly, flashlight slicing through the darkness. The beam lingered on Marcus's hands, then his face, then back to his hands again. His expression was hard, unreadable. License and registration. The words were clipped, cold. More demand than request. Marcus complied without hesitation, moving slowly, narrating each action in his head, though he stayed silent. He handed over his documents, feeling the officer's gaze linger on him longer than necessary. The questions started. Where are you coming from? Why are you out this late? Is this your car? Each one sharper than the last, each one laced with suspicion that didn't belong there. A second patrol car rolled up, lights flashing. Now there were 2 sets of eyes on him. The first officer circled the car, peering through the windows. Marcus sat still, breathing evenly. Inside, frustration burned, but he knew anger was dangerous here. He'd investigated too many cases where an officer claimed to feel threatened by a raised voice or an impatient gesture. The first officer returned. Step out of the car. Marcus obeyed. The air outside was cool, but his skin felt hot under the intensity of the moment. A small crowd had begun to gather at the corner, phones out, recording. The officer studied him, eyes narrowing. Any weapons on you? No, Marcus replied evenly. The officer patted him down anyway, the search unnecessarily rough. It wasn't procedure. It was intimidation. Every second, the imbalance of power pressed harder against him. When the search turned up nothing, the officer extended his hand. ID. Marcus hesitated, not because he didn't want to comply, but because he knew the next 30 seconds would change everything. He reached into his wallet and handed it over. The officer took the card, glancing at it casually, then stopped. His brows knit together as he read the name again. He looked up at Marcus, then back at the ID, then at Marcus again. Marcus D. Johnson, head of internal affairs. Recognition dawned like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just another man on the street. This was the man who had the authority to investigate him, to subpoena his records, to recommend disciplinary action. Or worse, the officer's posture shifted instantly. His shoulders dropped, his tone softened. Mr. Johnson, the words stumbled out awkwardly. Marcus met his gaze with calm, unblinking eyes. He said nothing. The silence was heavier than any threat. The crowd murmured. Some had already realized who Marcus was. Others just sensed the power shift. The officer cleared his throat, fumbling for words. Everything's fine here, sir. Just a routine stop. But it wasn't fine, and Marcus knew it. This wasn't about a broken taillight or speeding. It was about who he was, how he looked, and the assumptions the officer had carried from the moment the lights went on. The officer stepped back, handing over the ID with a hand that wasn't quite steady. You're free to go, he said quietly. Marcus took it without a word, his face unreadable. The crowd's cameras captured every second. The initial hostility, the sudden shift, the retreat. He returned to his car, the engine purring to L.